So apologies to other NBA players who we expected to be good coming into this season, but I'm going to talk about Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins has been pretty legit so far. I think it's mainly through like 3 reasons. Number 1, they're giving him the ball more. His touches are up. His dribbles per game are up. His pick and rolls per game are up. All of this is like from NBA.com. His usage rate is higher. And I don't want to give myself that much credit, but I did make a video in the offseason suggesting I think the Wolves are going to try Wiggins at point guard. And I don't know if he's really been at point guard, but he's definitely had the ball a little bit more. And I think it's a great idea because what was one of the big problems with Wiggins for so long? It was he falls into the game and he just floats around and doesn't really do anything. Well, if you give him the ball more, it'll force him to be in the game. You know what I mean? So I think that's part 1 for why this is working. He's just more engaged throughout the whole game now. Number 2 is he's taking less mid-range jumpers. That was another big problem. It was the long twos, and he's still taking a few, but it's a lot better. I mean, if you look at Basketball Reference's percentage of field goal attempts by distance, his mid-rangers are at the lowest of his career. He's taking more shots in the paint, and he's taking a few more threes. That's great. I mean, basically 1/5 of his shots are coming from mid-range, whereas last season it was over like 30%. So that's cool. That's progress. He's attempting about 6.5 threes a game right now. Percentages are not great from out there, but I think we'll still take it and allow him to keep taking those. Granted, there have been a couple of bad threes, like he's shooting threes off of screens, even though he's not that good at them. So, okay, maybe we'll take like 1 or 2 of those away, but still, the fact that he's going into this wanting to shoot more threes than those ugly long twos, that's pretty good. He's shooting more free throws at about 5 a game, and I think the reason for that is there's more spacing, which is the third thing that's going well for him. A lot of the times, the Wolves would have a conventional big next to Towns, whether it was Gorgie Dang or Taj Gibson or whoever else. Whereas now, they're just rolling with Towns as the main big with as much spacing around him as possible, and combine that with giving Wiggins the ball, and he is attacking the basket, and he's been pretty okay at it so far. I mean, he's 6'8", 6'9", and his handle has improved, and he's got some decent creativity, and he's definitely got some burst off the dribble, and it's hard to imagine, not imagine, but it's hard to remember, but Wiggins is one of the more athletic players in the league, so whenever he's able to bust it out and finish around the rim, whether it's finish over somebody or draw contact, like he can do all that stuff pretty well. I mean, the guy is shooting 67% at the rim right now, like that's excellent. You know? And a lot of it is just the spacing. I mean, Thibodeau, we can go back and forth on how good of a coach Tibbs really was. I think the NBA just kind of moved past him at a certain point. Whereas Ryan Saunders, he just kind of gets it, man. He knows spacing and threes and all that stuff is just going to work. Now, there are other things to talk about with Wiggins. I mean, for a guy who has the ball more, his playmaking has not been much of anything. I mean, Jeff Teague is still the primary assist guy on this team, and Shabazz Napier is number 2. Towns is number 3. Like, Towns is probably a better passer than Wiggins is out of the high post or whatever else. But I think this is a matter of, like, beggars can't be choosers. Like, we can give Wiggins some time to figure it out as a passer. The fact that he has become an actual efficient offensive player is the most important thing, if you ask me. Now, of course, this is just 10 games, so he could fall back into his old things. So I think it's going to be on the Wolves to just keep giving Wiggins the ball. You know? Like, you know, Jeff Teague, okay, he's still like the proper point guard, and you got to have other guys get touches between Towns, and Culver could be a guy who can do stuff off the dribble, but the priority, I mean, not like the number one priority of the whole team. Like, obviously that is making sure Cat is able to do his thing. But just keep hammering it home with Wiggins. Just keep giving him the ball to where it just forces him to stay engaged. I mean, I know it's, in a perfect world, he would just stay engaged anyway, but we have, 5 years of evidence that suggests if this guy doesn't touch the ball, he's going to fall asleep, and then the bad things start happening, and then he starts chucking up mid-rangers and all that. So just keep doing that. I think that's step one. Now, some interesting things off of that, to me at least, are, you could argue that this team needs an upgraded point guard. Teague at this point, I mean, he's serviceable, but I don't know. There's definitely better options. But would getting a ball-dominant player mess with Wiggins too much? I don't know. I mean, Jimmy Butler made the Wolves better. He did not make Andrew Wiggins any better, right? Now, I guess at the same time, if you have the opportunity to get like a great primary ball handler, then you just get him and, you might just forget about Wiggins entirely. But that's probably not going to happen. I don't think LeBron James is going to end up on the T-Wolves. So then it becomes a matter of, do they have to be really selective with who they take on? Like, maybe they wouldn't want to trade for Chris Paul, which is something that I've seen floated out there. And the move would work. I mean, it'd be Teague and Gorgie Dang's money and whatever else. But would that hurt Wiggins? And you could argue, specifically with someone like Chris Paul, would it really help you? I mean, yeah, it might make you better in the short term, but Wiggins and Towns are 24. I don't know. I guess that's an interesting conversation that I think you can make a case for both ways. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be CP. Maybe it would be, I don't know. I mean, I've seen some people suggest D'Lo's going to get moved, and of course the Wolves really wanted him this offseason. Would that be good for Wiggins? I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see just how the Wolves operate that whole thing. Do you get some ball handler who could force Wiggins to go back to his old self, or do you just go all in on like Wiggins has the ball? And if you were going to do that, if you were just going to be like, we're going to give Andrew the ball even more or whatever, then maybe you would prioritize getting more shooting on this team. Like, you look at a guy like Josh Okogie, right? He definitely has likable qualities. He's got some Marcus Smart in him. But dude can't shoot, okay? Would you trade him for a dude who's awesome from outside with the idea of this will just help Wiggins? I don't know. We're going to have to see how far Wiggins really goes with this whole efficient offense, I have the ball more thing. So yeah,